Hello everybody and welcome to today's Full Potential Show. I'm James Rick and this is your #1 non-boring source for personal development. Today on the line we have Vaughn Ripley. He is a speaker and author of Survivor, One Man's Battle with HIV, Hemophilia, and Hepatitis C. Vaughn is the longest living HIV positive person on the planet with blood. It was started with a blood transfusion during the 80s. Today he's going to share his story of survival and what made the difference. Vaughn, thank you for being on today's Full Potential Show.
Thank you. I really appreciate you having me on the show.
I appreciate having you on, my friend, and it's been a long road. Talk to me about where it started. Back in the 80s, you had to get a blood transfusion. Is that from this hemophilia, which is like a blood disease, right?
Yeah, exactly, James. Basically what happens is with hemophilia, I am limited. I have a deficiency of what's called factor VIII. It's a part of the blood that does the coagulation. Essentially what, helps you to heal when you bruise. And I don't have very much of that factor in my body. So, back in the 50s, they invented this plasma product that started saving the lives of hemophiliacs, and it was actually pretty amazing. I mean, it's a really huge breakthrough in the medical community. Unfortunately, what happened is because it literally takes the donation of thousands of people to make a blood product that can coagulate my blood for just one incident, you start dealing with things, like the viruses that can be in blood, and obviously another thing besides HIV, which was a horrible thing to happen to the hemophiliacs, and plenty of people in the community that were having operations or surgeries during that time too. But we also had hepatitis C and a bunch of other, bloodborne illnesses that were transferred until the late 80s when they started figuring this stuff out and actually were able to, stop having the problems that we had with the blood products.
Okay, so I mean, it was just an unfortunate time. It was a new, almost experimental, you could say, type of approach to dealing with this issue, and unfortunately, during that experimental period, you were infected with HIV.
Yeah, that's correct. Basically, we don't know which transfusion it was, but I got a lot of transfusions. In the 80s, I was a teenager. Okay. And so obviously I went through a lot of things, did the normal things that kids did that I probably shouldn't have been doing as a hemophiliac, like riding a skateboard or a BMX bike and, playing Murder the Man with the Ball and all of these different things around the neighborhood. And so consequently I had a lot of bleeding issues and I ended up in the hospital a lot getting these blood products. Little known to me and my parents for that matter, there was a lot of side effects that were associated with that.
All right, so talk to me, what happened after this? I mean, I know that it probably didn't hit right at first in terms of the real issues, but I mean, after this went on and you realized that you were infected and now you've got to start dealing with this, and really what made the difference between those who were infected and have long since passed and you being one of the longest living HIV positive people on the planet?
Okay, well, I mean, I guess to start off, it was a little bit of a struggle because I was 19 when I found out. And my family doctor called me in and my parents to tell me. And he essentially told me that I had fewer than 2 years to live. And so, as a teenager, I mean, that was a very tough thing to handle. And one thing that also really disappointed me about it, maybe something that I could convey to your listeners, is the doctor, the whole time that he was telling me and my family this, he was looking down at the floor at his shoes. So, and I'm a look you in the eyes kind of guy, for one thing. And if I'm telling some kid that he's dying, I definitely want to, face him and face it together with him, give him some support. So just right off the bat, starting out, it was like pretty tough for me. And then you're right, it did take a little bit of time for it really to sink in. At the time, I kind of just let it slide by. I was like, wow, I just got told I don't have, more than 2 years to live. So this was a very tough thing for me. But then it did kind of, the time went a little bit. And unfortunately, I fell into some really bad habits. I started drinking and doing some drugs. And I think for one thing, that was because it was a support system for me. It was a crutch to climb into the bottle, if you will, or do some of the other drugs, alter my mind and my state of mind and my thought process, get me away from worrying about dying and how horrible life was going to be at the end too, because back then, it was like, well, you're going to die of some horrible disease where you're lying in bed and wasting away. You're going to lose 60 pounds before you die, and you're just going to wither away, and you're going to die in pain. So, to be
that's not an easy picture to digest as as a young adult. And
it really isn't it?
And so also you probably didn't think about consequences long term because you don't have that much time to live.
Yeah, not at all. If anything, now I was this wild and crazy guy that really didn't care about that stuff. It was like, well, I'm dying, so who cares? And so unfortunately, I kept that mindset for about 1.5 years, and it was pretty detrimental.
Intense.
Yeah, and it definitely beat me up. But the cool thing is, after about 1.5 years to 2 years, I literally woke up one day and said, man, I'm still here. The doctor said I'd already be gone, and I've been doing all these drugs and damaging my life. What am I doing? Am I going to continue like this for the remainder of my time, or am I actually going to pick myself up by my bootstraps and do something?
All right, so I want to point out, so there, you became aware of a condition you weren't happy with, and then you made a decision to change it. And I think that's applicable to any situation. You have to first become aware of a condition you're not happy with, and then make a decision. You have to decide that you're going to make things better.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I think a lot of us, it's easy to fall into that pattern of thinking, well, it's not my decision. But you're absolutely right. That's exactly what it was. I was in a landslide and a tailspin, and instead what I did was I decided, like you just said, to make a better life for myself. And once I made that decision, it was actually a pretty big relief. Now I knew I had some goals in mind. I had a set direction to go, and I felt empowered, almost relieved to have gotten that part out of the way. And then it was just a matter of, well, what do you got to do? Okay, well, checkbox 1 was stop doing the drugs. That's a huge problem there. Obviously, that's going to destroy my life in and of itself. And then, it was hang out with the right people. It was start making the right choices, become more fit. All these things came together very easily once I had made that decision.
And it's interesting to go back even before you made the decision. You, in essence, you didn't feel like you had any control over your life up to the point that you made the decision. And so that's the point when you're really most unhappy. I don't have any control. I'm dying. There's nothing I can do. I'm just acting out in all these crazy ways. But what you said is nothing really changed. Your condition, as far as your diagnosis, didn't change. What changed is you changed and decided that you want to make whatever length of time you had left the best it could possibly be. And that gave you a track to run down, which started to give you control over your life, which ultimately created a more happy and obviously longer life for you.
Yeah, exactly, James. I think that also the positive thinking part, I think you also hit on that without actually saying that. But exactly, that extended my life in and of itself. Just knowing that I now did feel empowered and that I did feel, that there was something out there for me and everything. It made a big difference in my life. It gave me that positive thinking aspect that then helped to really build a foundation to strengthen my body and my immune system. They say stress, they're uncovering more and more about it every day, but really what we know to this day is stress will kill you. And I was under a huge amount of stress initially by thinking, I'm dying, and just focusing on the negative and the dark side of all of this. As soon as I started looking at the positive side, I immediately felt better. I felt stronger that day. I felt healthier. I jumped out of bed and I was ready to, go.
And Buddha says that death is the greatest teacher. So I think there's the two sides of death, right? There's the sort of hopeless desperation. This is it. It's the end. And then here it is. You're still staring death in the face, but you found a positive side to it. How did you, for people that are watching and listening that maybe haven't thought much about it, what did you discover as a positive side to death?
Well, it all sort of changed together. One thing that I realized was taking my medicine was killing me. And I was on some pretty experimental medication in the beginning there because, I was dealing with it at the very beginning of this. So I took 22 pills. And during that time, every pill that I was taking, I would incant to myself, I'm taking this because I'm dying. You know what I mean? So I was incanting to myself on a daily basis, 22 times a day with each pill that I took, that I was dying, and there was no question about it. As soon as I turned that around and started doing positive things and positive thinkings about, well, actually, I'm taking this medicine because it's going to enhance my life. It's going to prolong my life. As soon as I started taking a more positive take on it, my CD4 counts went up through the ceiling, actually. My blood became undetectable, and I haven't had any problems since then. And that's been, 20 years that I've been doing this. I've been fighting the virus for at least 26 years.
Wow.
And maybe longer. But for 20 years, I've been healthy as a horse and not run into any problems. And I attribute all of that to, my positive mental outlook. They're uncovering more and more about that too on a regular basis. And I think I'm afraid that a lot of us overlook that aspect of life, is that your brain is just so powerful. We think about our hands, because that's something I can grab right now. I can put my hands around. We think about the strength in our back and in our chest and stuff like that. But really, the strongest power that we have available to us, the strongest thing on the planet, as far as I'm concerned, is the human mind. And the power that it can generate. And it has the power to kill us, and it also has the power to save us.
Mm. And so now, what are the conditions like now? I mean, as far as, this has been going on for 26 years. I mean, it's just extraordinary that it's not only been managed, but that you've had a full life in spite of it. Are you still taking medications? What are the what symptoms do you have now as a result of this? Is it start? You said 20 years you were healthy as a horse. Are you starting to see signs of the condition wearing on you, or what is the condition now?
Okay, no, not at all, really. The only things that I have that are showing up are side effects from the medicine that I'm taking. It's the daily battles with things like diarrhea and rashes and all of these different problems, sensitive eyes. But none of it is HIV related. It's all related to the medication that I'm on. It's all related to these. They're essentially poisons, because they're poisoning the virus as well. So you basically just take your body to its limits of being able to handle these things. So you have to deal with side effects. And I figured, it's that combined with my outlook and as much stress-free living as I can do, staying fit and eating right.
Counterbalance it.
Yeah, I think that what happens is, I get the best that I can out of it. It's basically prolonging me. The way I see it, I'm going to live essentially a normal life up to 88 years old, and I don't really worry about it at all. I'm actually pretty excited about living a long life.
Well, Vaughn, you certainly come across as a vibrant human being. One of the things that come along with the responsibility of thinking about death on a regular basis, or confronting it, is that you start to weigh life more. You start to value it more. You start to appreciate the people and the things around you more. Is there any final thoughts on the perspective or outlook that you now have on life that maybe you wouldn't have had if you didn't have this condition over the last 26 or so years, that really is a perspective that only you can have, being in this place that you've been for so long?
Yeah. What's really neat, James, is I get from a lot of folks like, oh, I'm sorry, or gosh, it's terrible that you've had to deal with this. And the funny thing is, a lot of times what I'll say to folks is, I feel lucky. The exact opposite of what they're saying. Like, don't say you feel bad for me. I'm actually I literally feel like one of the luckiest people on the planet, that I'm able to sit here with you and be able to share my story with you and everything. And when 30 million other people are dead because of this virus, and I'm here. So if I was going to convey one powerful message to folks, I think that they should understand that life is a gift, and stop taking it for advantage. It's taking advantage of that gift. This is something that you have to grab a hold of, like the old saying of take the bull by the horns. Life is not something that you should take for granted.
Yeah.
Life is something magical and special, and it's a gift.
Every day we wake up, it really is. It's a gift that we wake up into this life, and if we really start to weigh the alternative, physical death, maybe not, soul death or anything, depending on what you believe about that. But what we know right now is that we're here, and that this experience is temporary, and you've had the advantage, I think, And you look at it this way too, which is extraordinary, of being able to look at that daily and say, what am I going to do to live today? Because death is right around the corner. Vaughn, where can people learn more about you, the work you're doing, and also pick up a copy of your book, Survivor, One Man's Battle with HIV, Hemophilia, and Hepatitis C?
The best place to find me is through my website, which is vaughnripley.com.
Okay.
And it's VAUGHNRIPLEY.
Okay, that's vaughnripley.com, VAUGHNRIPLEY.com. Vaughn, it's been a privilege having you on the show, and I'm so glad to have you on, and I wish you much longer and much success in your life and in your speaking career.
Hey, thanks, James. I really appreciate it. It was awesome talking to you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. Take care, Vaughn.
All right.
Bye-bye. And everybody who's watching and listening right now, be sure and like and subscribe to the Full Potential Show so you can get more great insights from individuals like Vaughn and freebies you'll only find right here on the Full Potential Show. Thanks again, Vaughn. Take care. Well, that concludes this week's episode of the Full Potential Show, your #1 non-boring source for personal development. I'm James Rick, and if you want to get more positive programming for your brain absolutely free on a weekly basis, just visit fullpotential.com.
If you like the Full Potential Show, you're going to love the Full Potential Club. What would you like most as a Full Potential Club member? Be 2 to 3 times more productive? Do what you're passionate about? Have more energy? Reduce your work hours? Travel the world? Enjoy an amazing lifestyle on a frugal budget? What if you could do them all? James Rick has been there and done it in ways that few people have. For anyone serious about taking their life or business to the next level, you know you've got to do more than just watch. You've got to do. Join James Rick and other like-minded people for an incredible $10 a month at fullpotential.com/club. Be educated. Be empowered. Be the best version of you. fullpotential.com/club. Try it free for 30 days.